welcome to the channel again. Today's lesson is how chemical reactions occur, right? And it's under the Csec Chemistry syllabus, Chemical Energetics, right? So, have you ever wondered how reactions around us occur? Well, let's just take in, for instance, AB going into CD, right? How could that happen? AB going into something CD, no longer AB. Now, when I'm talking about this concept with my students, I normally use relationships, right? So let's consider a south girl in a relationship, and let's consider a north boy in a relationship. Both relationships not going good. So what do you think will happen? Well, they decide to break a relationship. So the south girl decide to break her relationship with her boyfriend, and the north boy decide to break his relationship with his girlfriend, right? And then both of them sit down on a given day and say, well, I finished with that relationship, I put aside the feelings and things. I think I need to change where I socialize, the location. And both of them decided separately on a given day to socialize in Central, right? So both of them meet in Central. Now, the guy from North probably muttered something to the South girl, or the South girl probably walked past him a certain way, and an effective collision happened, and a relationship started. So how is that really related to AB going into CD? Well, A is the South girl, B is the North boy, and before AB could go into CD, AB have to break and free themselves from each other. So that is what happened with the South girl. She broke her past relationship. The North boy broke his relationship. And now, if we're looking back at AB are free, right? They are separate entities now free. Same thing with the South girl, same thing with the North boy. And then AB will rearrange themselves. That is what happened with the South girl and the North boy. They rearrange themselves. And then an effective collision take place, and we had CD in the reaction, and you had a new relationship, right? So what I'm going to do now is just share something, just to recap on what we have learned here, right? And what we have learned is that three things must happen, right, for a reaction to take place. Bonds must be broken, particles or atoms must be rearranged, effective collisions happen, and a new substances form, right? So you have bonds being broken, you have the particles rearranging themselves, and you have the new compound or substance being formed, right? So if you look at the slide behind me, you would see that most chemical substances, all chemical substances, they have chemical bonds, and that bond have chemical energy. So you'll find that chemical reactions would involve energy changes, right? So if it is, we look at that slide there, you would see the three things, again, what we talk about, that bonds should be broken, rearrangement, and then bonds forming. And that is what happened with the relationship. Both in South girl and in North boy broke relationship, they rearranged themselves, and then they had an effective collision and a new relationship was formed, right? So if you look at the next slide, you would see that what I have behind me is that reactions need energy to break bonds, right? So that energy to break the bond in the beginning of the reaction is known as activation energy. And now when I talking to my students and I tell them, so in a relationship, what do you think is the activation energy? And well, I get some crazy answers, but I tell them it's the mom, the mother of the South girl and the mother of the North boy. And they will go, the mother of the South girl will go and say, hey, things now, yeah, she wasn't good. I didn't like it. Break off that relationship. Mother of the North boy will say, yeah, that girl, something I didn't like about she. Yeah, you break up that. So, energy that came to the South girl and the North boy was the energy from their mother telling them to do X, Y, and Z, right? To break the relationship. I just kidding. The mom is not the activation energy. Let's consider a matchbox. And the matchstick and the matchbox, you're supposed to get fire from that. There's a chemical reaction. But how many times you walk in the kitchen and you see the matchstick and the matchbox on fire? No, it is you have to go and open the matchbox, take out the matchstick, and strike. You are the activation energy. You are taking out the matchstick, you are striking the matchbox and causing the reaction to take place. Without that, no reaction will take place, right? So we just recapping. We know three things must happen: bond breaking, rearrangement, and bonds forming, right? And you need activation energy, right? On that same slide there with activation energy, you're seeing that energy is needed to break bonds and energy is given out when bonds are formed, right? And the difference in the energy of reactants, that is the AD, and the products, which is CD, that will give us the enthalpy of reaction or the overall chemical reaction energy, right? And by looking at the magnitude of that, we could determine which type of reaction it is, right? So we can classify reactions in chemical energetics, right? On the next slide, you would see the other objectives under chemical energetics in the Csec syllabus, which is you see in types of chemical reactions, endothermic and exothermic, the properties of endothermic and exothermic reactions, energy profile diagrams, calculations and experimental explanations for enthalpy of reaction, right? So if you have learned something today in terms of how reactions take place, and you want to learn more about chemical energetics, you could call the number 7393230 and join one of our classes, the Csec Chemistry classes, right? Now, I really hope that you learn something, and you learn some other relationships too, along with all reactions, right? So, take care and God bless. Until the next time.